Day 4 of the final leg of the ocean race. 1,600 nautical miles of racing left to go, and our two fleets entering the Bay of Biscay. Welcome to the Ocean Race Show, where our VO65s and IMOCAs are leaving the coast, leaving the light winds, and 11th Hour Racing Team and Guyot Environment Team Europe are both leaving The Hague. We'll have a little bit more on that coming up, but first, let's jump into the front runners. In our IMOCA fleet, we left our three racing IMOCAs heading west, with the islands and coastline behind them. Team Holcim PRB was first, with Team Militia in third, trying to make up ground, and Bioterm wedged between them.
We're leaving France, we're leaving Brittany. We're not going to see the land anymore in France. Next land we'll see will be Spain, probably. So now we're kind of through. It was a pretty light transition zone we had there. Now we've got good wind in the right direction and southerly. And we're heading offshore to look for a right-hand shift that we're going to get in the Bay of Biscay. It's going to be quite light still. I don't think we'll see more than 15 knots really. Right now it's quite cloudy, it's quite gusty, it's quite shifty, and it should stabilise a bit in the next 5 to 10 hours. And then yeah, light winds, codes J0 and J2 upwind to Spain. We made good gains last night. The guys worked hard, and we've gained back a little bit in Holcim, which is cool. Pulled out a bit from Militia, which is also cool. And yeah, but it's a long way to go, and there's not much wind.
What did Alan Roberts mean when he was talking about that right-hand shift? Why is that change of direction in the breeze going to be so important? In order to understand it, I've pulled up the tracker, and we can have a look to see how our VO65 and, of course, our IMOCAs are doing. At the moment, both fleets going upwind, with the wind coming in pretty much from the direction that they would like to go, from the tip of the Portuguese coast. But as Alan was explaining, the breeze is going to go right. They're expecting the wind to be coming in more from this side. And that would be a much nicer angle for our sailors. From there, they would be able to sail out, hit the shift, and then ride the shifting breeze right the way into Portugal. And that's a really good example of our navigators and our tacticians making sensible decisions based on what's coming up, what's about to happen down the track, playing the game many moves ahead. But for the moment, for our sailors, they're just happy to be in a bit of breeze.
How does it feel to go now 11 knots?
Well, in comparing with the past 3 days, very fast. And in comparing with normal sailing life, very slow. But yeah, we're making our way now in the Bay of Biscay, and but it will be a long trip. We took food for 10 days, and it will take us probably like 13 days. So, but it's okay. It's good to be back at sea. It's good to, you know, calm down a little bit and get clear thoughts. Last night and yesterday, it's really patches, and it's so hard. Once you're in different breeze, it's so difficult to catch up. But now, yeah, we're not too far behind. Everything can still happen. It's still 1,800 miles to Genoa, so we just keep on doing what we're doing and we'll be fine.
For the leaders, Team Holcim PRB, sailing out west with the fleet, they know they are leaving the light winds behind. So it was nice to be able to change to the big wind sails and feel the boat find its feet.
Enfermé dans le KGB là. On roule le code 0, c'est fini le petit temps mec, pour 2 jours. Ah ouais, on passe J2. Voilà.
Ça c'est fini le petit temps, il y a combien de vent maintenant? C'est
fini le petit temps, il y a 13 nœuds, donc on change de voile. Et les rafales max sont prévues à 16 nœuds.
Waouh.
Peut-être un peu plus, mais il n'y a pas beaucoup de vent de prévu. Donc,
ça va aller parce que toi t'as jamais été à plus de 15 nœuds, non?
Moi mon problème c'est l'état mariné, toi. Oui. Mais, ouais.
But what about the right shift? The one that was meant to put everyone onto a southerly course. The one that they've been setting up for. Well, the boats all tacked for it, but the wind never really delivered, and our three IMOCAs tacked back west again in the search further out to sea for the wind shift. The leaders, Team Holcim PRB, now dangerously exposed if the shift comes late.
We are in the middle of Biscay, going west. to kind of get away from some light winds in between France and Spain. And then we are going to try from the end of the afternoon to go down south, probably outside of the TSS of Cap Finisterre and along the coast of Portugal. So it's going to be light for this afternoon, then a bit windier to go down, and then Portugal looks very, very light because there's a low pressure system right here. But the timings are very small, and right now we're pretty slow, so it's not looking good. So what was a slow race is about to become a slower race. Biotherm, the sun cream, is about 55 miles north, but we could lose quite a bit today, I reckon. Malizia, about 80 miles to the north. So, you know, we've got a bit of an advantage, but yeah, I find that the next hours and days are going to be very tricky.
A long way to the east, behind our three racing Imoccas, 11th Hour Racing Team have left The Hague. Now, they're not racing to Geneva. They can't. They were forced to retire from this leg in order to bring the boat ashore and make repairs. But the team want to get to that final stopover city. They want to be there on that last finish line, even if it means no extra points for their overall scores. They have requested redress, and that's a mechanism that can kick in to compensate a boat score in situations like this. But whether they get redress and how much compensation they're going to be entitled to, we're going to have to wait to find out. But the sailing team were incredibly proud of all the efforts so far in fixing that boat and getting it back on the water. And I've got to say, few people thought that this was going to be possible in the time that they had left.
It's cool, you know, like, got pretty emotional with the guys on the dock. You know, they did an amazing job putting back us in the water, and feels pretty special, you know. Like, I think, yes, it's a delivery, but it's still racing, you know. We want to get to Genoa in time, and the weather is quite tricky. We want to make sure that we have some closure in this race. I think we all deserve it, especially these guys that work, you know, 3 days, like 24 hours a day to get us going. It's not only for us, it's for the whole team.
I mean, the amount of support, you know, from our team internally, externally, from the Hague community, it's, you know, what we just went through is pretty unprecedented. And, you know, the support that we received was just as unprecedented too. Take two, certainly not what we were looking for, but just unbelievably proud of just our team and everything that got put into this, and you know, very thankful for the support of this community and the race organizers and all the other teams and everyone that had a part in getting us back on the water. So 11 plus days to Genoa. Feel a little different going this way, but you know, it means a lot to this whole group that's on board, the whole group that put blood, sweat, and tears into finishing this thing off. Everybody's interests are aligned. We want to get there, we want to finish the lap, we want to close this thing out. So appreciate it and have fun with it.
Guyot Environment Team Europe has also left The Hague, but for them their options are not as good. They broke their bowsprit and it can't be repaired in time, so they can't use any of the light wind sails that they would need in the Mediterranean. Without these, it would take them 2 or 3 weeks to reach Italy, even with the motor. So for Benjamin Dutroux and the team, they're heading to their base in France. Plenty of questions that will need answering by the jury, the race management team, and of course, we'll have to wait and find out how all our boats finish on the water in the Imocca fleet. But for our VO65s, there's another very intense battle going on, albeit a bit of a slow one.
Things are going a lot better the last 20 seconds than it has the whole day. We have been pretty much parked up the whole day. And hopefully this is the beginning of a new adventure. Or maybe the breeze will just shut down in 1 minute again. Because it's not looking glory days yet. So, not a lot of miles today. But the English Channel is a beautiful place. We've seen whales, dolphins, lots of ships, a little sunshine. Not too bad. Only bad if you want to go to Genoa in a hurry.
Slow progress, but at least it gives them a chance to celebrate even the smallest of gusts.
Oh yeah, move that keel.
What's this?
Pup of the day right here. Just hit 5 knots of speed. Pretty cindy.
Massive gains.
And the wind built from there. 4 VO65s were packed together, sailing out to the west. 60 miles behind Wind Whisper Racing Team in first, but everyone was happy to be in breeze again. Even if that meant spray across the deck and the need to stack sails to windward. But those hardships are nothing compared to watching the race leader stretch away as you are becalmed. So it's easy to understand why Team Yaya was so happy to be moving once more, just like Mere Puri Trifoot Racing Team, 5 miles ahead in second.
We're currently moving along at about 11-12 knots. We've got our J1 and J3 up at the moment. We peeled to those on our Master Zero earlier in the watch. Oh, and it's just started raining. Lovely, lovely. But yeah, everything's gone really well on board. I imagine in the next couple of hours we'll be tacking over and starting to head a little bit further south.
While we leave our VO65s and our Amokas for just a moment, it's probably worth thinking about how much work they're going to have to do upwind for the next few days, even in these medium conditions. It's not going to be a simple case of just pulling in the sail as tight as you can and then letting the helm find the right angle upwind. There's a lot more work that our trimmers are going to need to do. In order to do that, in order to explain, I've pulled out a couple of pictures from the archives of the racing so far. And we've got this picture here of Viva Mexico, the VO65. And this is a good place to start. This is pretty simple if all you want to do is go as tight to the wind as possible. You pull the head sail in really tight, flattening off the bottom, flattening off the top, and it allows the helm to steer as tight to the breeze as possible. But that might not be what you want to do. If the wind does shift and you want to sail a little bit freer, then you have to start being a little bit more expert in your trimming. And in order to show that, we can compare the two here. So, Mere Puri Trifoot Racing Team. As they go upwind here, they've got the bottom of their jib quite nicely in, but the top of their jib looks quite far out, looks quite open. You compare that with Viva Mexico, and Viva Mexico at the bottom is quite far out. There's a gap there. You could crawl between the guard wires and the foot of the jib. Meanwhile, on the top, it's quite far in. So there's two teams, one whole length apart, with exactly the same jib, and somehow making it look very different in 3D while it's flying. And there's a very simple reason as to why the trimmers have got the power to do that, to reshape their sail. If we go to this picture here of Mere Puri Trifoot Racing Team, now they have 2 head sails up, but I'm just going to concentrate on the biggest one here. They've got multiple ropes that they've attached to the clew, to the back corner of the sail. And what they can do with these multiple ropes is they can decide whether they want to pull inwards, whether they want to pull downwards, whether they want to pull back. And with that, with setting up multiple ropes coming from multiple angles through multiple fair leads, they can put tension into the sail in all sorts of different ways. Whether it's running up the sail and flattening off the top, whether it's pulling it in and putting a big curve in the bottom, and that would be really good for certain conditions, but terrible for others. For our trimmers, they need to know what kind of sail shape they want to produce, and then rig up the lines to do it. This is what it takes to rig up all those different control systems on a jib, using the outriggers, multiple lines, multiple fair leads, but all of it is of great use to the trimmers once the system's up and running. There's lots of work that you're going to be needing to doing to take these boats upwind and close reaching, but there are going to be sailors on board all of our boats who are going to be very pleased that those downwind spinnakers, the A4s, are packed away for now. Using these sails, getting them up in the air and then bringing them back down and repacking them ready for hoisting again is a very big job for one simple reason.
It's big, so it's a lot of work involved. It's a lot of sailcloth, and you have to zip it and put it in the bag and then get it ready for the next time.
So it's like putting your jacket, but moving. So
Now you have to put the nail, you know, and then sometimes it's hard. It takes a while.
Well, it can go both ways. You can come in from there, or you can come in from here, and then you put it all the way down and start organizing it so that you can zip it both ways, and then you put it in the bag so that you can have it ready to go back up.
Now, once the first, when you see all the white, all the white spinnaker all around, you say like, now I have to do this. Okay, let's do it.
That's your favorite part?
I know the favorite. I know the favorite, no. When you finish.
Exactly.
Spinnakers packed ready for their next use, many days away. As now, in the Bay of Biscay, it's all about upwind work, leaving the light winds far behind.
So we managed to get out of the English Channel, picked up the breeze. We went from the Masthead Code 0 to the J1, now to the J0. Most likely we're going to back to the J1 anytime soon, so the crew is very busy changing sails. But the speed is up, so that's good. And yeah, let's see what happens tomorrow.
This final stage of the VO65 sprint is the last chance for any of our teams to beat Wind Whisper Racing Team. Only Team Iaio did it, and that was in the import race in that boat's home waters. But when you look at the crew and the lineup of the Polish team, it's easy to see why this boat has been setting the pace.
I've competed in 5 previous ocean races.
Yeah, I've been involved with ocean race since 2007 pretty much.
This is my first ocean race experience, so it's pretty exciting.
So it's my first ocean race that I'm doing, but before I did like some fastnet race, middle sea, so I got some experience on 65s, but that's the first ocean race.
This is my first time in the ocean race sprint cup with the 65s. Before this I've done a Europe tour with the 65s and a lot of training in between.
So my Volvo ocean race experience, I did my first one in 2000 and then in 2014, 15 and then the last one on Turn the Tide on plastic. So yeah, 3 of them.
To stay in the lead, they will need to keep making the right moves in a clearly unpredictable weather pattern. Just like the Imokas, the VO65s have not been handed the wind that they all forecast. Wind Whisper Racing Team in the lead tried valiantly to make progress south, but despite 7 jibes, they have realised it's more efficient to head west for now, just like the rest of the fleet behind.
I must say it's a bit demoralizing because the mark is over there and we're sailing this way. But all for the wind, all for the wind. It should be more wind on the outside of the coast. So a bit of a detour, but might work out well. We got the Mirpuri inside of us. Wind Whisper is parked inside of us as well, so we need to go all the way around.
A big detour for our VO65 and Imoca fleets, and it's going to be dictated by when that right-hand shift finally materialises. And we're still in the early stages of this leg. We have many more miles left to go and a lot more challenges waiting in store for our teams.